Why are whites acting the way they are? Why have they, in effect, handed over the world they've created to a group whose only contribution to the debate is anger and accusation? Why? Well, I think the reason, I have an idea, the reason may be partially rooted in biology and evolution. In a nutshell, when two groups with very different social signals get together, they're going to misunderstand each other. Whites misunderstand blacks. Well, let me explain it in a bit more detail. Whites have been evolving with whites for many thousands of years. They've evolved a cooperative, basically cooperative ethic. But in addition to evolving a cooperative ethic, a more cooperative ethic than has evolved, let's say in Africa, where life is easier, it's not necessary to hunt large animals, it's not necessary to divide the kill and store the meat during the winter in a way that'll satisfy everybody, so there's been a less evolved sense of justice. In addition to that, social signals have evolved, as they do in any group. Dogs, wolves have social signals, different howls mean different things. Among human beings too, in human subgroups, I believe, certain tones of voice, facial expressions, and gestures have a certain signaling function. For example, if you begin to scream at me, this means you're very angry. Among whites, a certain level of anger usually can be reliably taken to indicate a real harm and a real wrong has been done. And we have evolved a reaction when we see that expression in other people to feel a kind of desire to see what's wrong and try to make it better. These reactions were very adaptive when we were living together in small groups in Eurasia, basically. Now, so this is a kind of a reaction whites can't help having to anger. And among whites, it's an accurate reaction in the sense that it accurately responds to an emotion that's really there, and it's socially useful. But now blacks, having evolved a different, looser sense of cooperation, looser sense of justice, also being more impulsive, have a much lower readiness to become angry. Get angry at really anything. If you've heard black conversations in the street, the sort of conversations where you think a fight is about to break out, you'll find that it's just joking. What I think has gone on in the last 30 years is simply that the forced proximity of whites to blacks have played into this difference. Black anger is misinterpreted by whites as evidence of real harm, which in turn triggers in whites the solicitous desire to alleviate the harm, to alleviate a harm that isn't there. This in turn triggers further black reaction, because blacks are learned in a kind of conditioning sense that anger gets these solicitous reactions from whites. The solicitous reaction from whites does not cause the black anger to go away as it does among whites. If someone is yelling at you and you mollify him, the general result will be he'll calm down and things proceed as before, but that's not what happens with black-white interactions. Blacks get angrier. Whites become more confused. This triggers their innate tendency to seek a solicitous solution. They're more solicitous. Blacks become angrier. I think the only one, now, you might say one objection to this theory, why didn't this happen 150 years ago in the South? Good question. I suspect part of it was the population difference was much greater. There was no question in anybody's mind which group was in charge, which group's morals were the ones to be observed. I'm not sure of the whole answer. I think there is this component. And it seems to me the only way to cut through this dialectic is simply to allow whites to be by themselves for a while, to recover their forces, not constantly subject them to this constant black rage that when a black teenager kills a white and the police arrest him and scuffle and he gets a bruise on his head, there's a black march about police brutality. Whites simply can't keep their balance when this goes on. They're just not used to this kind of reaction. They need to sort of catch their wits. My overarching recommendation is a public education campaign. Make people aware of the race differences. just make them aware, not with any particular plan of action in mind, just bring the facts to their consciousness. I have the possibly naive faith as a teacher that when people know the facts, rational decisions take care of themselves.